Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 151 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And Tim, I don't know about you, but I got my couple of beers here. I got my beach ball. I got a beach chair. You know what that means, right?
I think it means it's time for our Summer Slaycation, which got a little delayed this year, but you know, everything got delayed this
I know.
year,
what didn't get delayed, really? Literally.
So we're just keeping with the theme of 2020.
Yeah, but we did, but like us here in 2020, we're going to move on, and we're going to try and get through it the best we can and bring you our Summer Slaycation. And I think we have another good lineup. We did the preview last week, so you all know what we're gonna show for you here. But I think we're starting off really good with a series that is very popular overall. I think, but mostly for the first movie, maybe not so much as a series as a whole, but definitely the first movie. So this will be fun to really see if the series itself holds up to the way, to an epic series. And so far I really enjoyed the first two, and we'll go into that shortly.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I was scrolling through my Facebook feed today and saw an article from Stephen King talking about how he was wanting a new Omen movie to be produced. He said it's about time we had a new Omen movie. I was like, that's an interesting coincidence. Which if you've watched the Cursed Films segment on the Omen on Shudder, that documentary, which I highly recommend, the making of the Omen was filled with all these really odd coincidences. So when I saw that come up in my Facebook feed, I was like, uh-oh, is Damien trying to go after Civil Gore now? I don't know.
I hope no. Oh, that's right. This podcast has already had enough curses thrown at it. We don't need we don't need a something like that. It just made me think of one too. Maybe they could do a crossover one, it took place in the winter, called The Snowman. But I don't know.
I think they already made that. It was called Jack Frost.
Oh, that's right, they did.
Yeah.
Your brother mentioned that on his podcast on the Fox and the Foxhound. They mentioned that when they were talking about the bad effects of Sirius Black in the Goblet of Fire. They said, why did they have to do the Jack Frost thing with the embers moving like eyebrows and stuff? It was fun.
That's right. You know what? Speaking of Jack Frost, one of my favorite portrayals of the actual Jack Frost is Martin Short in the Santa Claus 3.
Oh my God, that's right.
I love that movie. I love Santa Claus 3. I don't know why. I think it's because it has Martin Short in it, and his hair looks so, no pun intended, but his hair looks so cool because it's made out of ice crystals.
That's right, it did. Yeah, Martin Short is good in anything. So Martin Short, actually, it's funny. Really going a little off topic here. Did you ever see the movie Get Over It, where he plays the drama professor in it? And he's doing that. So. Oh my God, he steals that movie. And when I went to saw it, I watched it. I remember it was just I watched it because Kirsten Dunst was in it and some people that I recognized in it, and I was like, oh wow, this will be a fun teen comedy. I had no idea Martin Short was even in it, and he literally steals the movie in every scene. He is so hilarious in it. It's definitely a must-watch for Martin Short fans. And that's kind of odd in our Summer Slaycation. I'm going to pull all the stops out. With our Summer Slaycation, where I started talking about a 90s teen comedy. So, actually, it might have even been 2000 for all I know. I don't know.
Speaking of movies, did you ever see one called Vibes from 1988?
No.
So, Jeff on 91 Reasons was posting about it because he was looking for the DVD. Apparently, it stars Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum as two psychics.
Oh, yes, I did see that. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I saw that millions of times on cable. That used to be on HBO constantly. Sorry, you know what? Until you said the Jeff Goldblum, Cyndi Lauper, then I remembered. I forgot the title of it. But once you said that, then I remembered. Then it all clicked. That's I think, a Coen movie, too. I think Coen likes that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So he couldn't find the Blu-ray on it or DVD? I don't think there's a Blu-ray.
He couldn't find the DVD, I think, so I don't know. Just something I just did not know that existed. That intrigues me.
So, and also, I just noticed something as I was because I was about to look it up. I looked over at my phone, and Hootsuite apparently changed their app icon now, where it looks more like the owl. It's like gold and the owl's black and white with like the glasses on it. But it kind of reminds me of the owl that's on that beer was it Hosinko, that beer that remember we had it at the place, the sushi place,
Japanese beer.
Yeah, that's what it looks like
stuff.
now. It looks like that owl now for Hootsuite.
Oh,
So,
nice.
I don't know. We've started off more off topic, I think, in history.
That's because we don't have a big first chop, so
Yeah,
we're
we don't.
time.
But actually, Tim had a great idea. So, obviously the Slaycations, we're always evolving the show anyway, as you notice. We're trying to tweak things sometimes as we go. And we figured, while we may have, like next week, there may be a first chop, most of the time through the Summer Slaycation, there's a lot of movies to watch. So our side projects will probably be just that and be put to the side. Because, like this week, it's only 2, but like next week we have 3. Week after, I think there's 3 a week. So, with a lot of movie watching already, it's probably better to just focus on the Slaycation ones. So, of course, that limits our first chop. Barring some kind of major horror event. But Tim had a great idea. Well, we discuss for any new listeners we might have, because I know we probably have some new ones in the past that maybe have not heard our previous season. But what we do with the Summer Slaycation is we always pick it's funny. It started off with a character, basically.
Right,
like, so we had like the icons, and we do all the movies with the icons. So we started with Freddy, Jason, Michael, and Leatherface. No, I'm sorry. Was it Leatherface?
Yeah, it was Leatherface.
Leatherface, right. Yeah, and I forgot because Hellraiser was the next year. And so what we did is, and we decided to go through the entire franchise and split it up 2 weeks. It was Tim's great idea, and of course he came up with the wonderful pun, Summer Slaycation. So, and then we decided, well, not every horror franchise has a typical villain. So we just kind of modified it to basically have it as it's going to be a horror franchise. So, granted, it seems like most of the ones we did kind of have it, but this year I think we're kind of finally off a little bit of that, where there's really only one movie with a sort of a central villain, and that's the Omen series, which is how we start, but then followed by Wrong Turn has a whole group of them, right? A group of people. And then there's Final Destination. I'm sorry, Paranormal Activity, followed by Final Destination. There's really not maybe Final Destination, and depending on how you look at it, you could say that the Paranormal Activity has one antagonist to it, but there's really, I say it's more than just one. But so, and same with Final Destination. You could say it's death, but then again, it's not really truly an antagonist or a character. So I think this will be fun this year, because this will be just some really good like franchises that maybe not always covered. I'm sure the Final Destination series has been covered at depth, but I don't know many people that covered the full Wrong Turn. They've done maybe a couple, but
and it's one of those things too that gives us a chance to sit down and watch a franchise from beginning to end, because that's not something you typically do. Now, I'll do that with Friday the 13th,
right,
or Nightmare on Elm Street, or Halloween, because those are huge franchises that are near and dear to my heart. But it's very rare, if ever, that I'm going to sit down and watch all of the Wrong Turns or all of the Paranormal Activities in a row. And sometimes you see things, or you pick up on things doing that you don't pick up on when you've seen them years apart as the sequels have come out. And it's a different kind of viewing experience to watch them all in a short span of time, because you can really compare and contrast in a way you can't do if you're watching them spaced out over years and years. So I really like the Summer Slaycation, because it kind of puts us in a position to have to watch these in a different frame of mind and in a more critical eye, and I really like that. Genuinely one of the most fun movie watching experiences I ever had was going through my Halloween box set.
Yeah.
And I went through that thing in a matter of, it took several weeks, but I was very consistent with it, where I'd watch the first movie and I would watch the commentaries, and then I would watch all the extras, and I would completely finish that disc, and then I'd move on to the next one. And it was such a deep dive into that series. It was so rewarding to just dive to that level. And that's why I cannot wait for the Friday the 13th box set, which I'm actually going to order tomorrow. So that one's going to be on its way. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that is one I'm going to do that too. I think I'm going to just
too, yeah.
devour that set from piece by piece on that.
Yeah,
because I want to like really like I kind of relive like the whole franchise, but with all because there's tons of new special features on it. I mean, I may do it like I may do the full like Tim original project treatment where I like literally watch it and then watch the commentaries and then watch the whole thing like until like disc for disc for disc. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. That to me is how you get the most out of a set like that, because that's a lot of money to spend. I mean, it's $130 to spend on a Blu-ray set, which is not cheap per movie. I mean, it's not expensive per movie.
No,
I mean that's actually a really good deal, but it's
a
lot
every
to lay
one
out.
Of them in there.
But it is a lot to lay out up front for a piece of media like that. So I think when I paid for that Halloween box set, that's the most I'd ever paid for a Blu-ray set ever in my life. I thought I was insane for doing it. And after I had gone through the set over a period of weeks and had spent that much time with it, like there was no shadow of doubt in my mind that I got my money's worth, and that it really helped.
Yeah, I wish that was my most expensive disc. It was not. It was the and the worst part is because I saw it on sale for like about 5 months later. I could have got it for like $100 less. Was that Harry Potter? Box set. But that I will tell you is such an impressive and cool set. I mean, I know we're blending into the Fox and the Foxhound territory here, but you know what? I mean, think about it. You're related, so it's okay. It's like related by blood, the podcast. But yeah, so that one was cool because not only does it have, it has every Harry Potter movie, it has all these little artifacts. It's in that whole thing where it like opens up like it's a like very fanciful like chest kind of a thing. But then it had like hidden things in it. Like there was a bonus disc that was hidden within the set, and little pieces of things that you would find by like moving little drawers in it, and like there was one where you had to like pull out the bottom of one of the drawers, and there was the hidden disc. So just alone it was kind of fun. I think it came with like a Marauders map or something. It came with a lot of cool extras. So it's one that I had to have in my set. I mean, and it's like I didn't buy that big Star Wars set that came out, the big set, because I have so many versions of it already, of all of them, and there really wasn't anything new on these. So there, and I don't have a 4K TV yet, so it's like maybe what I'll do is I'll buy that eventually when I have the 4K TV set up. But now I just went with But I know we're kind of off horror again. But yeah, I know what you mean though. To me, like that set is something that is going to be, I think, a prize in anyone's collection. And that thing sold out so fast. Not that it sold out, but like the early version where they were going to only make 13,000 of them.
Yeah,
or 1,300 or something. What was it crazy with that bonus thing? It sold so fast that they had to up that to like 7,000 for the pre-orders of just the limited edition with the poster, which is the one I sprung for because you know me, they can get me with anything like that. But overall, as long as you get the discs itself is what's important.
I don't care about the poster because I've got enough posters. But I will say the biggest thing that pushed me over the edge to buying this set. I mean, I was going to buy it anyway. Don't get me wrong, but the biggest thing that really pushed me over was knowing when that set came out, if I didn't have it, how like beating myself up I would be, especially if it sells out and I can't get my hands on it. Because I remember when I bought the Halloween set, there was people like, oh, I can't get my hands on it, and I had one and you couldn't get it anywhere. And it was like I was so happy that I had, just sprung for it because I mean, that's a treasure of my. You know what? I am a little worried though because I have not been able to find my last box of Blu-rays, and it's in that box.
I'm sure it's there. I'm sure you'll find it.
It's got to be. I mean, we took everything out of the house, so it's got to be there somewhere. I just got to find it. So I'm kind of frantic now, going where are the rest of my Blu-rays?
Podcast is being paused. I'm gonna go find
where are my Blu-rays?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that remember you already learned that the hard way you thought you pretty much lost any kind of chance to get a full Friday set because of that last one that I had, and I went looking for you everywhere, and all I could find I found it for like way more than this set is.
Yeah.
So at least now you're going to get even a better set for half the price. So that's
which is ridiculous because that one's still going for $475 on the third party market.
I think that'll drop once this one comes out because people will. I mean, like, yes, collectors would want that because it was limited, and because collectors want everything that they can't have. But I have a feeling that set. This will be the one that I go to watch from now on, not that set. Even though I'll keep
especially
it
with the new transfers.
Yeah.
So
you know what next is? Someone was saying, a lot of people are sparking this thing, saying, why is there not? There needs to now be a Nightmare on Elm Street set that equivalents, because the last one was DVD, that really great one. It wasn't even Blu-ray. The Blu-ray set is nothing compared to what that original DVD box set was.
Oh yeah, and I've got the original DVD box set.
Right, same here.
Yeah, and that one was fantastic. But that Blu-ray that came out, I never even bought it because I was like, even though these are Blu-ray, that DVD box set I have is so cool. It had the 3D glasses with it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what the Blu-ray has, but it's Nightmare on Elm Street's definitely overdue for a big deluxe treatment like that for sure. That's the one I'm next looking for. And the Chucky set's good. I mean, it's not to this degree, but it's really, really solid. I really like that. And the Phantasm set's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. Yeah, and Tim and I got lucky, though. We over the last couple of years, we did manage to get a hold of those cool sets. I really think there still needs to be a complete Texas Chainsaw Massacre one.
Yeah.
I would love if they could ever figure out, even though there was some duds in there, a full true Hellraiser box set one.
What we need to do is just make we'll stamp our name on it, and it'll be our Summer Slaycation series of box sets, and we'll have like full Leprechaun.
Yeah.
And then it will have our podcast episodes as DVD extras.
There you go. That'll be the bonus.
Yeah.
By the way, that was one I was going to say really benefited from the tight viewing was the Leprechaun series, I think, because it definitely paid off on that like the last one where they referenced so much of the first one. So to see the first one so soon before it made us get a lot of those references a lot easier.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we should jump right into it.
Summer Slaycation.
I, of course, have seen The Omen multiple times.
Yeah.
It's a classic. I've probably seen it not quite as much as The Exorcist, I wouldn't say, but I've seen it plenty of times over the years. The Omen II, this was actually the first time I'd ever seen it.
Oh, I thought you've see, and it's funny. I think even though I've seen The Omen a lot of times, I think Omen II I saw more back in the day. Although I forgot how much I liked it. I remember seeing. I think The Omen II used to play on HBO or Movie Channel. I think it might have been the Movie Channel actually. When I had those were the two channels I had was HBO and the Movie Channel. I remember seeing that more. Omen II seemed because I remember the whole military school portions. But it's funny. I don't remember how much I liked it until I watched it this time again. I'm like, wow, I forgot how much I liked this one.
Yeah. We'll get into my thoughts in a little bit, but first up we have The Omen from 1976, directed by Richard Donner, starring the fantastic Gregory Peck as Robert Thorne, Lee Remick as Catherine Thorne, David Warner as Keith Jennings, Billy Whitelaw as Mrs. Baylock, Harvey Stevens as Damien.
Our friend, we met him at the New Jersey
we
Archive.
met him. That was that's weird. He still looks like the kid, even though he's like a older guy.
He looked exactly like the kid, so much so that when he smiled at me, I got a little scared.
Yeah, he was a little creepy.
We were in the bar, remember, and he gave us that smirk, and I said, okay, thank you for scaring me once again.
Yes. Patrick Troughton as Father Brennan, Martin Benson as Father Spoleto, Leo McKern as Carl Bugenhagen.
By the way, I have to say something about him. Tell me Carl Bugenhagen, okay, the character. Well, Leo McKern, let's say, the actor. That basically, to me, remind me if Donald Pleasance was cast as Sala for Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I think that's the character you would get.
Yeah.
Is this guy.
I can see that. Yeah,
like this
exactly.
And he was yelling like, Michael, in one of the scenes. I'm like, oh my God, this
I
is
saw
crazy.
that. I noticed that because he was like, Michael. And
I'm like,
ooh.
what the? I said, what world am I in? Am I in the wrong slaycation? What did I?
That's fine. I swear, I think the more me and Brian do this podcast, the more like our brains sync together.
Yeah, I really think we have a link.
Like, I literally saw that when I was watching. I think it was today because I think it was in this. It was in Omen II.
Yeah, it was in the second one where he yelled it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like Michael, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds like Donald Pleasance right.
I know. And seriously, and then he's got that big beard, like the Sala beard, like John Rhys Davis. And I'm like, oh my God, this would be John Pleasant's cast in Raiders of the Lost Ark as Sala. And now we have him. But it's funny because Leo McKern had a very small role in the first one and the second one to some degree. But I think he's like a very important role, which is funny. He's so small in screen time, but very important in the scheme of things.
Yeah. So the synopsis is: mysterious deaths surround an American ambassador. Could the child that he is raising actually be the Antichrist? The devil's own son?
What kind of... Seriously, though. I mean, I get it. They're trying to tease you with this, but that's a terrible for a main synopsis.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they worded it, but I copy what IMDb says on that, so...
It's interesting that this movie probably ruined the name Damien forever.
So many people... Actually, the trivia, I don't know if I put it for the second one, but it was enlisted in the second one. I might have actually... Yeah, it said the popularity of the name Damien plummeted as a result of this movie and its predecessor. So
that's great.
Oh, but no apologies to our buddy Damien Leone from.
Yeah. Well, that's a good horror name, though.
It is, yeah. So I guess
it works. You're going to be a horror director. Oh, speaking of which, I didn't mention this because we didn't have our first chop, but I went back and watched. And sorry, guys, get off topic. We're going to be all over the place. You just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
We're all stream of consciousness here at Simple Gore. I went back and watched All Hallows Eve.
Oh, that's a great one, isn't it?
Yeah, because I had realized, of course I watched Terrifier, but I went back and I was like, I don't know if I've seen this or if I saw it so long before Terrifier that I didn't really pay attention to. You know what I mean? I'm like, I wasn't quite sure like where my status was, and All Hallows Eve 2 was on my list of 1,000 greatest horror movies or whatever, and I was like, you know what? I need to go back and watch the first one again. So I went back and watched it and had a blast. I absolutely loved it. I mean, you could see how, you could see a lot of Terrifier in it.
Yes, even though it's different Art the Clown, remember?
Yeah, it is a different Art the Clown. And I will say, even though the Art the Clown, the character was really good in All Hallows Eve in terms of establishing the character, David Howard Thornton just puts another layer on it. That just completely changes it.
Yeah, and Mike Amelli was the one that played him in the first one, and he was still. It's funny with the makeup and mask, you almost can't tell it's a different person unless you really do a good look. You can kind of tell just the mannerisms. I think obviously because and also the freedom that David Howard Thornton had, obviously for Terrifier, he had way more of a sandbox to play in because he had a wider scope of. Set pieces, and he could do more physical things and really be a clown as opposed to, and a little bit know more about him than more the mysteriousness of in All Hallows Eve. But yeah, it was still really good. And actually, speaking of Terrifier, I don't know if you noticed, it's so funny, we said no first chop really, but we're kind of first chopping it all over the place.
Yeah, we're just chopping everything up.
Damien Leone announced that he will on his I think it was his Facebook page will have by the end of August the Terrifier 2 trailer. Or the teaser trailer.
Yeah, because I saw that was already cut.
It's and like I know like you saw the snippet of it you could see on his computer that he teased, kind of thing. So.
I just want to say I really enjoyed it, and even there's a segment in there about an alien that I don't usually find alien stuff very creepy, and that segment was really creepy. I really liked it. So everything about that, I just for a low budget indie film. I mean, there's some that are better. I mean, there's good indie films out there, low budget films, but they're not always like scary. Yeah. And this one I thought was like has a really creepy, scary scenes in it. So I mean, I just can't wait to see what Damien Leone does with bigger budgets.
Yeah, I literally think you can give Damien Leone like the change in your pocket, and he'd come out with a masterpiece of horror. Yeah, I really think so. He is that talented,
and super nice guy too.
Oh my God, yeah. And we just in talking to him, you could see he loves the filmmaking process, especially horror. He loves it, and he's good at it, and he's like what a genuinely nice guy, and he will like we probably could have talked to him for hours about it.
Yeah. Who he reminded me personality wise is Adam Green.
Yeah,
he kind of has that same like love of film and just nice guy personality. So yeah, but anyway, I don't know. Off topic, but Damien, I guess is kind of
no. Trust me, we brought it in. There's a connection there.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say that I just really enjoyed All Hallows Eve, and I'm gonna watch the sequel here, maybe tonight. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I haven't actually. I don't know if I saw All Hallows Eve 2. I know I saw the first one. Actually, I watched the first one immediately after watching Terrifier that first time because I'm like, oh my god, this is. Terrifier blew me away so much. I got to see where it came from.
I think I meant to, and I just never got around to it.
Well, I watched it late, so I was like forcing myself. So.
But I'm glad I did because it was really, really good. Okay, so let's talk about the Omen. Well, yeah, like I alluded to at the beginning, if you haven't seen the Cursed Films documentary episode on Shudder about the Omen, go watch it. I thought it was one of the strongest episodes of that series because it was probably one of the most grounded. That series, I loved. Don't get me wrong, I loved the Cursed Film series. It was a little uneven in terms of how cursed the films actually were. I mean, sometimes some of them they were really stretching. Some of them were just plagued by just sadness because, like, the Poltergeist one was a really good episode, but at the same time it was really sad because a girl died, and so there was kind of a melancholy that hung over that episode. The Twilight Zone one obviously was really tragic. You had actors die on set. So that one was kind of tainted from that aspect. But the Omen one was, I guess, not so immediately plagued by death and stuff, and so it was a little more in the fun curse type of way. I mean, there was some tragedy there, but it wasn't as dark, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say, as some of the other ones. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, there's some. I think we have some of that in trivia too, about some of the cursed sequences in the original. So we'll probably get to that again.
And I'm trying to think if I remember. I'm trying to think if this was the one where they were the most skeptical about. There was one of them was where they were really skeptical about it actually being cursed, and I can't remember if it was this one or
maybe it might have been the Crow one. I don't know.
I can't remember. There's one I just thought it was funny because it was, which to their credit, because they could have just said, "Oh, all these films are cursed," and presented only one side of the story. But I thought they did a very good job making it balanced.
Well, I think that's what was good about the series in a whole. I think they tried to. It was cursed films, not meaning like, okay, here are a bunch of cursed films. It was these are kind of like always known to be cursed, and then they kind of almost like did one of those like. Well, are they, depending on what the topic was, they kind of almost a little bit debunked it versus sometimes like elaborated on it depending on the situation. So I thought it was pretty fair, like you said. I think it was overall fair. It was just, I think a lot of people went into thinking that it was going to be like one of those, like, those Netflix documentaries or, with like the Travel Channel, the what's the Investigation Discovery kind of things. Yeah. So I think, that's the, but Shudder is really good at doing its own thing with the way they do their series. So,
yeah. So anyway, back to the movie. So, So Gregory Peck plays this American diplomat that is assigned to London. His wife gives birth to a boy in the hospital who dies, so he ends up secretly adopting another child, which ends up being Damien. So sets forth a series of mysterious events that occur around this kid. And let's just say that Harvey Stevens is one of the creepiest kids in film history. He doesn't have a lot to say, which I think is a good thing because it just makes him that much creepier because he rarely talks.
And when he does, it's like this high pitched, like weird screaming. Like I don't even think I understood words he said, other than like when he says like mom or daddy or something. He says, but most of it's like these little like the things in Dark Crystal. Remember those ones?
Yeah. But what I liked about this was we've seen and you have to kind of go back and see where this movie came from, because since The Omen, there's been a ton of quote unquote evil kid movies where the kid is like blatantly evil, like almost cartoonishly evil. And the thing I like about the Omen series, and it even carries into Omen II, is he's not like blatantly bad. You know what I mean? He's not like going around cackling as he tries to kill people with a knife, and he's not like that. He's basically just a normal kid, but the people around him sense something off.
Yeah, when he doesn't realize it even yet.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it. I mean, as we'll get to in the second movie, midway through, almost towards, is when he realizes who he is. And, and I mean, obviously, because he's really young in this too. But I think it's funny. You made a good point about it. But I think a lot of people kind of misremember this movie that way. I would not be surprised if that was, because I remember watching it few years back. It happened to be on cable, and when I watched it, and I kind of had the same thing where I'm like, oh, you know what, I always remember him kind of like doing stuff, but it's really he doesn't really. And in fact, what I thought what was great about this is that, and what makes this kind of a cool series is like, okay, so Damien is supposedly the main villain, you want to say, right? But he's really not in a lot of ways, because of all those disciples that he has that are protecting him, and they just kind of sneak into his whole world without him knowing and without other people knowing it. And I think that's like a really cool thing. Like, first, you had that, like, the first nanny that has to be still one of the creepiest scenes in movie history, I think, where she hangs herself at the birthday party.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah,
scene.
But it is super creepy because, like, it's just, and the way it's shot, just when she just screams his name, and everyone just goes up to look,
she's like,
and then
Damien, this is for you. And and she's and that, I believe that's the first thing we see that's unusual around him, right? I mean, that's to that level. I think that's the first death we see,
right? And she's acting weird a little bit before, like almost possessive, but you're not sure. And maybe you could think like, okay, maybe that's his real mother, and she knows it, and and she had to give him up, and and now she's here. You don't know what's going on. They do a really good job of kind of slow burning you into this to this world, what's going on. Then I think by the time that's Mrs. Blaylock comes into the picture, something's not right anymore. She's just and she was actually, you'll see in the trivia, there's an interesting, I think I left it in there. If not, I kind of remember it about her and her character. But so and then just like weird, that's really when things start to happen. And and what I like about the Omen, the first two specifically, is that there's, they don't necessarily focus on just him, what's going on. Like they spend a good time going on with what's going on with the characters around him as well. Like, especially like, we'll get to it in the second one with the whole business deal they're trying to do, and in this one he's a diplomat, he's trying to further his career, and it's like, so all that stuff kind of goes on, while this creep factor is slowly sneaking into everything, and it's like, next thing you know, it's like, whoa, what's going on here? It's like,
that's what I liked about it, and that's why I think this movie is better. It holds up better than a lot of the evil kid movies that came after it, because those are so centralized on the kid and how evil he is, and tries to make it scary in that respect. I think this one's actually creepier because you see the devil's handiwork working through this kid and around him, but it's not directly him. So you're not trying to make a 6-year-old necessarily scary. It's all the events around him that are scary, and I think that makes it more realistic and more terrifying. And I just really like the subtlety there. In my mind, this is a sequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Imagine if Rosemary's Baby got put up for adoption, and that's who he adopted.
A lot of people say like that. Yeah, they've kind of put those two together at some level, because that's kind of what, it would be a perfect succession if they could do that. But yeah, no, there's just there's a lot of good, like they do such a good job, I think, of making this like just even simple sequences that like may be done normally one way in films. I think Richard Donner does a great job of the way he did this. Like, I mean, I'm gonna jump ahead to the trivia on this one piece because I think this was really cool. Let me find it. So, here. So it says, it was Richard Donner's intention to film and edit the scene where Jennings is decapitated. That was David Warner's character, who, by the way, is phenomenal in this movie.
Oh, yeah,
David
so
Warner is just
I
one of the
loved
most
him in this
incredible
movie, yeah.
actors and one of my favorite actors. And in this, he is so good as the photographer that kind of gets himself involved in it. And just, I love when he's like, "Man, I'm not just a bystander, I'm involved," or whatever he says, that line. It's great. But anyway, so he's decapitated in such a way that the audience, having closed their eyes at the beginning of the scene, would open them only to see the head still floating in the air. So he anticipated the crowd reaction and made sure he filmed it in a way that they still would see it and be horrified. And to me, that is genius. And that's why I love Richard Donner.
And that's why that scene is so iconic. I mean, if you talk about the Omen, everybody talks about the decapitation scene.
Yes.
It's iconic. It's one of the most iconic horror film deaths in history. And really well done. And like you said, David Warner is fantastic in this. Like, I loved every scene he was in. He was so good.
And I'll tell you another thing that I really think is kind of funny that I'm sure everyone will notice anyway, though, if you think about it. So there's a lot of similarities in this to some other horror films. And I mean, now granted, I maybe we talked about this when we did the movie, but like the sequence obviously with where Damien is riding the little tricycle down the hall towards Lee Remick's character. Obviously, then you get the Danny Torrance that was years later. I don't know. Do you think that could have been an homage by Kubrick to this movie at all?
Possibly, yeah.
Because there is nothing creepier right now to me than a child riding a tricycle after seeing his movies. Of course, like they go so fast.
Nowadays, me as a parent, the scariest thing about a kid riding a tricycle in a house is that they're going to knock something over or go down the stairs.
Right, yeah. That's true. Yeah. Well, and this was good, and was so creepy, and I'll tell you, it was so creepy in this one how he just grabs it and then turns and then rides back away, and it's just like, oh, it's they do such a great job of making like simple sequences that I mean, yes, not simple in a way that like not simple like technically because there's a stunts involved, but like just typical like look at it on paper. Okay, ride your bicycle into your mom, knock her over the railing, and then go back, but so it's like simple on paper, but the way he does it is just so well done. And even just the like that one scene that I don't remember being as powerful as it was until this viewing actually, maybe because like we've said in the past, sometimes when we watch things with a more critical eye, you really kind of look for is the scene when he was and it was getting me tense watching it, was when they were driving up to take him to church. And he just freaked out when he got close to the church. And he's like, and it was like, the way they kept shooting with the reverse. And the church looked creepy to begin with. Like, I think I'd be nervous going in there, just the way that church looked, and it was just the camera angles from it. It was really like well done sequence and a great build up. Like the editor really actually should get a lot of credit on that one. The way he edited up the cuts back and forth. So there was a lot of that in this movie.
Yeah, like the animals that freak out when they're near him.
Yeah,
there's all these. I like all these subtle signs that there's something wrong with him, even though outwardly, he looks like just maybe kind of a shy kid.
Yeah.
But so outwardly, it's not like he's got devil horns, and it's not like he's like blah, that speaking in tongues or anything. There's nothing outwardly that's really wrong with him, but it's the reactions that certain adults have towards him that makes it creepy, because they're sensing something that you're not picking up on, or the animals are sensing something, or even the quote unquote disciples.
Right.
You have certain people that know exactly who he is and are trying to protect him, like Mrs. Baylock.
Or kill him, like the priest.
Or kill him like the priest. And it's just fascinating to me to see the story played out, not through the kid, but through the people around him. And I think that's what's neat about this, because it's so, I don't say it's like subtle, but it's a different way to tell the same story. But instead of making it so dumbed down where the kid's just evil and he's walking around with a butcher knife or something, you tell the story through the reactions of other people around him, which I just think is really cool. That's why I like this series.
Right, and also, like, think about it from his viewpoint, like how he had to act that sequence, because, yes, we all know as the audience by that point there is something wrong with with him. But we're looking at him, but think of his viewpoint where he doesn't know who he is. He just knows he's a kid. And he doesn't realize what he is. And yet he's now in his car with his mom, and the baboons start attacking their car violently and jumping all over the place and, scaring the mother, scaring him. And it's like, not realizing that, that he's evil, that he could probably just look at him and they'd all go flying off the the car, But he doesn't know that yet. He doesn't know how to do that. He doesn't know how to do anything. He's just really right now he's kind of just a kid.
Yeah, and I love the progression of Gregory Peck's character as he starts to realize that there's something wrong with his son, and that slow transformation to wanting to kill him.
Right.
Because that's a big transformation to go from, being a father, loving your son, to actively wanting to murder him because you think he's the Antichrist.
Right.
And it's a slow build-up that I think is really effective.
Yeah, and actually, I should correct something. Actually, I think it's not that he doesn't know. He doesn't know what he is. I think, but I think there's moments where he does have a little bit of a sinister side. Like when he does, where he knocks his mom over the railing, and he kind of does that look like, okay, big deal, and goes away. He there's moments where he is overtaken by something that but as a kid he can't understand. So I think he does. Yeah. He does. There is something that he's knowing, but it's not overtly. He doesn't understand it. But it's enough that it could affect the way he reacts to things too, because he doesn't seem to be caring at all that his mother nearly
to me,
died.
I've watched documentaries about psychopath kids and stuff, and there's something in the brain, there's serial killers and stuff where they just don't have the same kind of capacity for empathy that normal people have. They just don't have the same emotion, and I could see a kid like that he doesn't know he's quote unquote evil. He doesn't know he's not purposefully doing anything, but when a circumstance arises, like when he knocks his mom off the stairwell and watches her plummet to her almost death, that he just has no reaction to it. He's dead. He's emotionally dead.
Right.
And that's all he knows. He's never known any kind of empathy for anybody else. And that's just how he is. There's kids like that. That are truly like that.
Oh, yeah. So, and you've seen documentaries, and it's frightening the way they discuss it.
God, yeah. Yeah, so I could see where that's a case where he's reacting like you'd expect him to react, even though he's not doing it purposefully. Right. If that makes any sense.
So and overall, I think this movie is one of those movies that just with more rewatches, you just get more out of it too. I know that's well, duh, there is a way that there are certain movies where you can watch it over and over again, and just after the third time, you're not getting anything else out of it. You're getting what it is. But in this one, I find every time I watch it, I kind of notice some other kind of nuance of something in it. And, it could just be us watching a ton of horror movies now, really having more of a keen eye on a lot of techniques just through, filmmaking that we've learned through watching more movies. But yeah. And it's funny that Richard Donner, so many people, so funny from our generation, most people are going to, know him from Superman and the Goonies, but meanwhile he's done one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, And
it's interesting that this one came out in the same general time period as The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby and Don't Look Now. It reminds me of all of those films. I feel like it has an equal place in that kind of area. You know what I mean? That that 70s slow, methodical films, except for the fact that I think The Omen is neat in that it has a lot more. Well, maybe with the exception of The Exorcist, because The Exorcist does ramp up pretty quickly with Reagan's transformation, but it has a lot. The death scenes are so good, they're so iconic. There's a lot of that. Rosemary's Baby is a lot more what we call a slow burn. There's not a whole lot of action, quote unquote. Don't Look Now, I would put in the same category. There's not a lot of action. It's a tense build up. But I like that The Omen is that Plus, it has like the great scenes, like the teacher killing herself and the decapitation scene and the pushing the mom off the stairwell scene. Those are all really iconic death scenes that that punctuate an otherwise slow burn movie, which is kind of cool because you kind of get the best of both worlds there with this movie.
Now it makes me think we should have maybe just done the rest of The Exorcist as well, one of the Slaycations. We could have had them all, and then had all. But we did now, if you think about it, including this first movie, first Omen. Now we've had that whole group you just spoke about. We've had them all now.
They're all great. I would when I get the new house and I just have a really dedicated place to watch movies. I think I'm gonna really focus on building my collection. I've been a little hesitant I've been buying Blu-rays obviously, but I think that's when I'm going to really start focusing on going back and buying the movies I really, really love that I know I'm going to watch over and over. Because
and there, speaking of Don't Look Now, there's that really great set the disc that I bought on it. I think it's Criterion actually of Don't Look Now, and it's really good disc. So
that's a great movie. So and it spawned the Donald Sutherland Smooth Baby Ass theme.
Yes, if it did anything for the world of civil gore, it's done that.
I wonder what that baby smooth ass looks like in 4K. I'm gonna find out one day.
Yeah, well, you will know. Right now, Donald Sutherland is cancel all my appearances in 4K. Okay, I don't know why I made him British.
Why are they so obsessed with my smooth baby ass?
Yeah. Well, look what it's done for. I think the most happiest person about that is probably Richard Dreyfuss because he totally got knocked out of. He got knocked out literally of discussion by between Kurt Russell's sack and Donald Sutherland's ass.
So if Richard Dreyfuss and Donald Sutherland are at the same horror convention when they
oh god,
did you hear all they were talking about was when I said Faye?
I know. I don't understand. I mean, seriously.
Well, at least they're not talking about your ass.
I was in Jaws, for God's sake, and they kept talking about Faye. But, God. And then Kurt Russell will just walk in and say, guys, just me and my sack, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, man. Richard Dreyfuss, he's been gone too long. He deserved another appearance. We just brought him back. We brought him back. Yeah.
All I know is he's French. I had to bring him back for a third time in a row.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah. But anyway, so
maybe we should go through some trivia here so we can get
go through some trivia. Omen 2, yes.
Well, I guess we'll alternate. We'll just do a handful. We don't have to do all these. We'll pick some good ones.
All right, you kick it off there for us.
Okay, then. I think I will do. So let's see. Yeah, you know what? So I'll do this one here. So Harvey Stevens as Damien was largely chosen for this role, but from the way he attacked Richard Donner during auditions. So Donner asked all the little boys to come at him as if they were attacking Catherine Thorne during the church wedding scene. Stevens screamed and clawed at Donner's face and kicked him in the groin during the act. Donner whipped the kid off him, ordered the kid's blonde hair dyed black, and cast him as Damien. So that's how you get a role in Hollywood. Just go up to the director and start kicking his butt.
Just claw Richard Donner in the face and kick him in the nuts.
Shoot, I could have been in Superman. Now I realize I can.
Oh, I like this one. Jerry Goldsmith did not want to attend the Academy Awards that year since he had already lost multiple times before and didn't want to go through the ordeal of losing again. It was his only Oscar win. Don't
you hate that?
I hate that.
Hate when I miss my Oscar. So here's one that I think we have to read just because it's based off of we discussed this in the beginning of this about the cursed films thing. So the film seemed to fall victim to a sinister curse. It said star Gregory Peck and screenwriter David Seltzer took separate planes to the UK, yet both planes were struck by lightning. While producer Harvey Bernhard was in Rome, lightning just missed him. Rottweilers hired for the film attacked their trainers. A hotel which director Richard Donner was staying at got bombed by the IRA. He was also struck by a car. After Peck canceled another flight to Israel, the plane he would have chartered crashed, killing all on board. One day of the shoot, several principal members of the crew survived a head-on car crash. The jinx appeared to persist well into post-production when a special effects artist, John Richardson, was injured and his girlfriend beheaded in an accident on the set of A Bridge Too Far. So, that makes you think. I could see why that one is listed in cursed films because that's the one. Lot.
I don't think that's the one I was talking about where they said it was. I think this was the one where I felt it was most realistic that it was actually cursed, because there was a lot of. It had that same kind of curse, like an Egyptian mummy curse, like
Right.
oh
right.
yeah, the screenwriter's neighbor's daughter, you know, blah blah blah. I like that it had like the more traditional curse thing tied to it.
Right.
So yeah, I like that one. Let me skip over here to. I like this one. So, one of Richard Donner's first requests to screenwriter David Seltzer was to remove all suggestions of the supernatural, such as cloven-hoofed demons and witches' covens. The golden rule was that nothing was allowed in the script that couldn't happen in real life. The idea was that there should be some degree also of doubt over whether or not Thorne was deranged. Now, I don't know that I got that. And maybe that's because the movie's not new to me, and we know that Damien, and I think that might be coloring my perception. But when you first saw it, do you think it came across for a film that for somebody who never had seen the movie before? Do you think it came across that there was some doubt as to whether Damien was actually the Antichrist?
Yeah, I would think so, but I'm looking back now. When I saw this, I was a child myself, so it's like I don't know if I would have got that myself at that point, because I think as a kid I would have just been, you know, I don't remember my thoughts of just being other than thinking it was a creepy movie, you know, and I just remembered a handful of scenes when I had seen it as a kid. But yeah, I could see that though, because I mean, even watching it this time, I did pick up on some of that where, you know, but it was mostly towards the ending where they were, you know, when he really was kind of starting to lose it, and he was, you know, and people were, you know, and they kind of overtly made that question, like, well, wait a minute, you know, what do you know, kind of thing, like, I'm gonna say, you know, oh my God, he's gonna get caught trying to kill this guy, you know, as I was watching, because I hadn't seen it in like 3 or 4 years, so I was remembering that, like, I was like, oh my God, that's right, he's gonna get caught here, and so I'm like, they're gonna think he's crazy, and then it kind of hit me a little, but I definitely think there was some aspects you could possibly see, but I probably can't like say 100% for certain that I would have caught that if this was the first time ever I was watching it now.
I think we can't go back. I think it's hard to see that now, because it's just this is so ingrained in your mind.
That's one of the things that I think is the biggest regret of some of these older horror movies, is that we're seeing it now after we've seen movies that, you know, I'm not this one because we've seen this originally, but obviously we're younger, but for especially movies that like we go back and older ones that we've seen for the first time, we're now seeing it after other movies have already imitated it and maybe have stepped it up a little bit better. So while we can appreciate the original versions of things, you know, we don't get the same impact as we should back as if we would have seen it originally. But, you know, that's, I mean, what are we going to do? We can't go back in time. We can just enjoy what we have. But that's probably good. I mean, there, you know, most of the, you know, we kind of hit that other one too about the Richard, you know, the Richard Donner one about the decapitation one. But other than that, I think, or we could just say that too, though, but it's because it's kind of tagged onto that. They said they're claiming this was the most famous decapitation scenes in cinema history after the scenes in Hereditary and Friday the 13th.
I would not say this is after Hereditary. By any means. This definitely comes before Hereditary. Yeah,
I don't know why. I think that might have been just a poor wording of it.
Yeah.
Because I think this might be number one, in fact. Even over Friday the 13th.
I would argue it's over Friday the 13th,
yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I did want to mention this one other little one here where it said Damien was originally going to be called Domlin.
Oh, yeah.
Until David Seltzer's wife suggested a name change. I can't imagine a world in which the Devil's Child is called Domlin.
Oh, but though it is creepy too. It's still got a creep factor to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Domlin. Like a goblin.
But yeah, maybe we're thinking of Thomason from The Witch. I don't know.
All right, well, let's go to directly to Damien Omen II. This is 1978, the year my brother was born.
Yay! And his birthday is coming up, actually, too.
It is. Happy birthday, Kev. He's coming up on 3 days. He will be... I don't know what age he'll be old.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, the age is just a number, but
he won't be as old as me. But
no, but and it's funny because that's how that actually led to a shout out for Civil Gore on the latest Fox and the Foxhound, because Kevin was talking about, of course, which you know better than anybody, but we could share this. One of what he does on his birthday, of course, is he watches Maximum Overdrive, his favorite film, which actually happened to come out on his birthday. Yep. And so he was saying how like Amanda was giving him a hard time about like watching it because she cannot stand that movie, and he loves every glorious second of it. And so he was saying how he goes, hey, when I was on Civil Gore, I guessed it, and that's the movie we did. And then she said, hey, I guessed it on there too. We did Jaws, and then they gave us a nice little shout out. But yeah,
the best birthday that I ever remember, or one of the coolest birthday parties he's ever had, there was an apartment and I might have mentioned this on the show before. We actually probably mentioned it on his show, maybe. I don't remember if that was before or after, but there was an apartment complex in town that his friend lived at, but they had their own movie theater. And you could rent it for screenings. So his friend rented it out, and we all got there with a bunch of friends, maybe 30 people, and watched Maximum Overdrive and Whitewater Summer double feature. Whitewater Summer, not a horror movie. That's a Kevin Bacon.
But that's another Kevin favorite.
Yeah, another Kevin favorite. If you guys haven't seen it, it's Kevin Bacon, Sean Astin, like prime, like Goonies age. Sean Astin plays this kind of nerdy kid who his mom basically forces him into this survival type wilderness camp run by this hard-nosed instructor played by Kevin Bacon. And if you like Kevin Bacon playing kind of evil guys, you'll love this one because he's like this real prick that's, all about making sure boys learn how to survive. And Sean Astin is this total geek who doesn't know his way out of a tent kind of thing. And it's kind of like him like having to grow up, during this couple weeks out in the woods with this, Kevin Bacon instructor. So it's a really, really good movie. And it's cheesy, just like all those old 80s movies were. But if you like Sean Astin and you like Kevin Bacon, which who doesn't? I think you guys would enjoy that one. All right, so Damien, Omen II, 1978. Don Taylor and Mike Hodges uncredited as directors.
Yeah, I guess he started, then got fired.
Yeah. So William Holden plays Richard Thorne. Lee Grant as Ann Thorne. Jonathan Scott Taylor is Damien Thorne, which I thought was a great bit of casting. He looks enough like the original Damien that he definitely could pass. Robert Foxworth as Paul Bueller.
I was hoping you didn't say Bearer because then I'd have to do the Undertaker. But
Nicholas Pryor as Charles Warren. Lou Ayres as Bill Atherton. I think you should do that every show.
Paul Bearer, I could do that.
Yeah. Sylvia Sidney as Aunt Marion. Lance Henriksen as Sergeant Neff. It was good to see Lance Henriksen.
Sylvia Sidney, of course, right? Who she was famously.
I'd have to go back and look at her. Honestly.
I'll give you a hint. Let me see what you like. Shoot, I can't think of a good line, but let's put it this way: he's an extremely popular former participant in the Universal Halloween Horror Nights character, and his movie. Sylvia Sidney had a major role in. So.
Beetlejuice.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
I was gonna try and think of a Beetlejuice line, and then I realized I was actually gonna say "I'm Batman" by mistake. Yeah. So I just got Michael Keaton brain going there. Okay. But yeah, so she was that, and then of course Mars Attack. She was in Sylvia Sidney.
I love Mars Attack.
I love Sylvia Sidney. Yeah.
Okay, where were we?
Lance Henriksen.
Lance Henriksen, who's been in everything. So
yes,
of course, he was in Omen II.
Yeah, why not?
Elizabeth Shepard as Joan Hart. Lucas Dunnett as Mark Thorne. Alan Arbus as Pizzarian, and Meshach Taylor as Dr. Kane.
Well, you know what he was in, of course, right?
Oh, you were going to make me look him up, too.
No, I'll tell you. Well, obviously, to go really super, if he's in Designing Women, but it was also Mannequin. Remember, he played Hollywood in Mannequin.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yes, of course. How can I forget?
Yeah, so like
he has the best death scene in the whole movie.
Oh, he does. That is best death scene since Mannequin. But he survived that movie. Sorry.
He looked like a mannequin when it was all said and done.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah, that's like Andrew McCarthy would have a big cleanup job with that one. But I was gonna say something too with Lance Henriksen. You know how he's in everything. I think literally the casting sheets that you download off the internet come with him already printed on it.
Oh yeah,
and you have to like remove him. I think
it's in
for
the
a horror
letterhead.
movie.
You have to use whiteout.
Yeah, he's like embedded in the the printer. But
okay. So synopsis: Damien the Antichrist, now about to turn 13 years old, finally learns of his destiny under the guidance of an unholy disciple of Satan. Meanwhile, dark forces begin to eliminate all those who suspect the child's true identity. And
see, that's a synopsis that makes sense. Yeah, that's a perfect synopsis.
I had not seen this sequel, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very solid sequel, which is hard to do because if you look at Exorcist 2 was terrible.
Oh. And this was not thought of as a good sequel. It like years later, I think it got more accepted, but like Exorcist 2, it was mostly disregarded as bad.
Right. And you know, I can understand it, I guess, from one sense, and I'll tell you why. But this happens to be the reason I like the movie. It very much follows the formula of the first movie. They tried to not stray too far from the success of the original, and it's only 2 years later, so I can kind of see where, you know, they kind of were afraid to do anything too outside the norm. So this movie plays it very safe as sequels go. It's got kind of the same pattern. You know, you've got, you know, although Damien's older, he's still pretty much unaware of who he is until later on in the movie when his disciples start trying to clue him into who he actually is.
But they do hint, though. There is a subtle hint that I think it's Sylvia Sidney before she goes like crazy screaming about it. But there's a couple of lines where they say like he's like a bad influence or something. She says something. She starts off very subtle with, "Oh, he's a bad influence on him," or "Don't stay away from him," kind of a thing. Like, so she's a little bit aware, but I don't think she even knows until she. You don't think she knows fully until she then really starts going like nuts.
Yeah, but again, it's like there's some doubt there because there's other people around that don't see it. You know,
right,
so
and like, she's played off as the eccentric old aunt that, but kind of. But
she does a great job of playing that.
Oh my god!
Eccentric old
For
aunt.
such a small sequence in this movie, though, she kills it, and no pun intended. Because she does an amazing job for that little bit she's in it.
Yeah, she was fantastic. You know who would play her nowadays? For sure, would be Maggie Smith.
Oh yeah.
Like Maggie Smith would play her all day long.
Is that a student? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so, so getting back to that, I thought it kind of is the same thing. You have certain people that know who he is and are warning against him. You have certain people that are like, "What are you talking about? He's just a 13-year-old kid." And then you've got these mysterious circumstances start to happen, and then you have some really like iconic grisly death scenes, which I was actually surprised, having not seen the movie, that I had not seen at least a couple of these death scenes in like documentaries or compilations or something. You know, because you watch those movies like, ooh, best 100 horror movies you've never seen, and I watch those things all the time.
Horror, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
even the great, like the David Weiner's great one, In Search of Darkness. I mean, that had clip after clip. So.
I would have thought I would have seen a couple of these sequences in one of those things and gone, "Oh, well, I've never seen the movie, but I remember this." But I had never seen these, and I was like really blown away because I was like, "These are awesome. These are really, really good."
Yeah, I think the one that I remember it, but I don't remember it. I didn't remember it how extended it was where the guy falls through the ice, and they make that scene so long and so excruciating. And when you see him just like sliding under the ice like that, trying to tap his way, and it like just keeps going on and on and on, and then you think he's gonna get out, and he does get out, and then he gets sucked back under the current. So it gets, and he gets pulled under, and there's that one sequence where he's literally just like, you see him go flying under, and they're like. The kids are frantically trying to clear away snow to follow his path, and then it doesn't actually end with his like true death, because you see it fades away as all the kids are still like kind of following him sliding under the ice. It's like
that one, and that's one of the more like subtle ones, obviously.
Yeah, very subtle. If you think about,
there's a great sequence. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the death scenes we like.
Yeah.
There's the one where this crow starts.
This crow.
Or raven. I don't know if it's a crow or a raven. There's a way to tell them apart, but I can't ever remember it. But
maybe it's a craven.
That's a Wes Craven. The bird attacks the lady, and I thought this was so well done because I'm so used to like bird attacks in films are hit and miss because it's so hard to make it look realistic. Because usually it's like a stuffed bird, like, and the actress is like in the birds, like you like just rolling around and you're pretending like the bird's actually attacking you. But this one looked real. Like it looked like the crow was really attacking her. And I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they had like a.
They actually said, I read what they said they did, and I don't know if did I put it down. It's in the trivia, but I don't think I put it down how they got the birds to do that.
Because there's at least one sequence where the bird actually swoops in and like attacks her head. Like there was no way that was faked. Like it was a real bird flying into her head somehow. Like I feel like they put some peanut butter in her hair or something.
Yeah, it says for the Joan Hart's death scene, food was placed in the stunt woman's wig to attract the bird. So literally, the birds were basically.
That's what I thought
her.
because it looked really real. Like it didn't look like she had a stuffed bird and she was like flapping around trying to. Like it looked like the bird was actually clawing at her. Which I thought was cool.
And the exact opposite. It's kind of funny that we mentioned this because right after when Conan and I were testing the watch party thing, we threw on that movie Beaks. We watched about 12 minutes of it, and we had to stop it because we figured it was way too good not to do with some sort of watch party or possibly, depending on how if the Friday the 13th one goes as good as I think it will, I think that might be one of the next ones we might have to do. Because it's on Prime now, and this thing was so like, it's like the effects are like night and day. So we might need to put that like maybe we'll say let's get through this first watch party, which I think is gonna be amazing. But and then after that, we might have to switch to like one of these kind of like Joe Bob type of movies where
I think so. I think the next one will definitely be a more like. Mystery Science Theater 3000 style.
Yeah. So and so Conan and I literally Conan even said it. He goes, we need to stop. He's like, I think we need to do this one with like as a watch party. and he was like, well, yeah, maybe. And then like after like 2 minutes after, Steve's like, yeah, no, I think we need to stop. This is too good not to rewatch. So we only watched it but we got so much out of that first 12 minutes. So I can't even imagine what's left in this movie. So.
Yeah, so that was great. So she gets attacked by a bird, and then she's blinded by the bird. So then, and you know what's going to happen because here comes a big rig. And anytime you see a big rig coming down the road in a movie, somebody's about to get hit.
Yeah, does it ever end well?
No, never ends well. So she, of course, like an idiot, stands in the middle of the road and apparently trying to wave down this truck that she can't see. But the thing I hated was like to me, it almost ruined the whole scene. Because if she had actually gotten hit by the truck, I don't see how she would have got launched over the hood. I mean, this is a big rig. Like, she would have just been smushed down. But
she would either get squashed or just sent, like, propelled the same way the truck was going by about 75 to 100 feet.
It was a complete physics-defying. She leaped over the hood of the truck somehow and hit the windshield. And then she fell off the truck and got kind of run over underneath it. But I don't know. It was funny. It was like she like catapulted into the windshield of this
very.
awesome.
Like for a scene that was like borderlining epic, like kind of didn't end well, but it was still great though.
I was like so impressed with the bird part, and then the truck part, I was so unimpressed that it almost ruined it for me. But
maybe they ran out of budget on that effect. They're like,
I don't know. It was still memorable. It's almost like they took a mannequin and like they said, okay, drive the truck, and they just threw the mannequin at the windshield.
Yeah, they're like, can we get Joan Hart back for one more day? We forgot she needs to get run over by a truck. No, sorry.
Yeah. And so anyway, but it's memorable for what it was. And then the other really iconic scene was when Hollywood, as you say, got.
We have to call him Hollywood always.
This was great though because this was like. I was telling Brian, this reminded me of Final Destination because there's moments in this movie where they try to make you think the character's going to die one way, and then they switch it and they actually die another way. Like the woman that gets attacked by the bird, you think, oh, the bird's going to kill her,
right? But
then she actually gets killed by a truck. And then this one, Hollywood's trapped in the elevator, and the elevator starts to fall because the cable snaps.
Which is one of my biggest fears of ever, because I knew actually one of my friend's moms that happened to where the elevator cable snapped.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Yeah, it was before I knew them. So, and it was just my mom had told me the story that had happened to her. Because
did she die or was it? Like
no, she was live. She broke almost every bone in her body, but apparently she was like obviously she was.
But did she die?
I know. Did she die? That meme now was funny when I found that because we should probably clarify. So what happened? the way we got that, why Tim said that is we're not mocking my poor former old friend's mother. But no, what happened was whenever we play Friday the 13th online, usually it's later at night, and if you think I get loopy now on the podcast, you should see me at the end of a long day and then playing video games till like 2 a.m. And so usually Cone is like screaming because Jason seems to find him when he's not Jason almost immediately. So I hear Cone yelling, and I happened to just watch Hangover 2 earlier that day, so I just went, "But did you die?" to Cone, and so now we get stuck with saying that repeatedly.
Yeah. Which is, of course, from Hangover.
Yeah, and then...
2? Is that Hangover 2?
Yeah, Hangover 2. And then Tim one time, so we started going back and forth with memes, and then Tim adds the "go read a book" part to the meme. So if you hear us quote that, that's where that came from. Yeah. And then I guess we'll save the other one that I quote nonstop at a later date when it requires about my Burt Young. We need to get Burt Young and back into a horror movie so we can do it, do his imitation. But
yeah, but anyway, so yeah, that's where. But did you die?
Well, I will. Actually, he will come back because when I get up to the Amityville movie that he did, I'll be able to. Oh no, I did. No, I didn't get to it yet. Did I? No, I did. Shoot, that's right. I missed my chance.
Oh, that's too
darn
bad.
It! I missed it. That's right. He was in the second one.
I'm sure we can find a way to go off topic long enough to get him back.
Yeah, I'll get it back. We'll get Burt Young back. Okay.
Yeah, so Hollywood's in the elevator, and the elevator snaps. And you think, oh, okay, he's going to plummet to his death. But then it stops, or it catches at the bottom, so he's still alive. But then the stupid cable falls on top of him and cuts him in half in a great scene. And they extend it out. I mean, you could tell it's like a dummy thing, but I still liked that they extended it and showed it all because they could have just cut. It's almost like the decapitation scene. They almost held on it. So that you would have to see it. So,
yeah, it's funny. That goes to your point, too, again, how formulaic it was compared to the first one. But it was funny because that was when I was watching it yesterday, and that's when my brother walked into the room, and he goes, what is this? Because he didn't know what I was watching. And then he ended up sitting and then watching the rest of it. He got into it. And then he was asking me all questions today, so I'm like, hey, maybe we'll have to go back, and I'll watch the first one. So you could see the first one because he kind of got into the second half of this.
Yeah, but then there's the sequence I noticed at the end where they're walking through that shipping yard.
Oh, with that train, yeah.
You see this big crane or whatever holding a shipping container. And you're like, oh, the shipping container is going to fall on them. Yeah. It's another one of those things where they try to make you think you know how they're going to die, and then they die a completely different way. But that was a great death scene, too, the whole train sequence.
Yeah, and
talk about bad luck. Good.
Yeah, no, and my brother actually said that actually happens in real life a lot where people will get basically coupled between two trains, on accident. So it's actually something that does happen. So, my brother's a big... railroad aficionado, so so that he said that happens way that does happen from time to time, in terms of any kind of accidents. That's one of the types of accidents that tend to happen. Nice. People just are not realizing it and they get caught in the wrong spot when they're trying to couple a train, and so
that was so I mean, if nothing else about this movie, I loved all the death sequences were really, really good. I thought every single one of them was good.
Yeah, you know what? The kind of vibe I got a little bit at one point, which obviously I'm sure borrowed when it's a little. There was definitely a little evil speak vibe in there going when at the military school aspect of it, and then and not that Damien was being picked on. He was actually seemed more of one of the popular kids.
Oh, he was very popular, especially with the girls. I mean,
that one scene when we won the award and he's walking in with arm in arm. But definitely the aspect of with that whole military school sequence, and obviously with Evil Speak he channeled the devil. So there was just there's cool sequence because what I like is it's obviously being, whenever you're that age, you always have those challenges to begin with. Imagine you also realize you're just finding out, too, that you're now Satan's son. Yeah. As opposed to lead Armageddon, essentially. It's a lot to deal with for a kid.
But, just like the first movie, the focus really isn't on him as much as you might think it would be.
Right.
It's a lot of the ancillary characters around him, and how
I feel like there's more than this one than
there almost is.
Others. So let me ask you a question. Actually, my brother, he's funny. He brought this up after he saw it. He asked why Damien asked Mark to join him before he did that. Like, I guess it kind of he gave him like an aneurysm type of thing. And I meant to look it up because I don't know. I have a theory on it. I mean, part of the theory was that, remember the sequence when the guys, that business guy that's one of the kind of secret disciples too, was asking him, saying how, Damien, you're going to inherit this all. And he goes, and Mark too, kind of thing. I think maybe there was still that, they grew up together almost as brothers. And I think that part of Damien is still there. So I felt like he would rather have him with him than have to kill him. And
that's the way I saw it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but there is, there's, this. It kind of, you might say, oh, he's Satan's son. What does he care? He doesn't. But there is. Remember, he grew up until maybe 10 minutes of movie time before that, not knowing that he was this evil entity kind of thing. So there's just some sort of attachment he had. I mean, he's his brother. It was a very Star Wars-esque, but I loved you, Anakin. You were my brother. That's what I almost got out of that. It was almost like that line. He said almost, goes, Mark, I love you. You're my brother, kind of thing. And so it's like, I mean, I always took that as that he was, he really did want him with him. Like, he did not want to have to kill him, but he knew if he stood in his way, he had to. That's just the way it is.
I don't know about you. I kind of felt more sympathetic towards Damien in this movie than I did the first Omen, only because you don't really get to know Damien in the first movie because he's 6 years old. He doesn't talk very much. And when he does talk, he's just babbling about stuff. I mean, he has no real personality in the first movie. He's just kind of a prop. But in this movie, you actually get to know him, and he's not a bad kid. He's like a typical 13-year-old.
Kid, yeah. He's
a typical kid. He doesn't know who he is. And he never struck me as being, at least in the first movie, you could kind of infer that there was something off about Damien as a 6-year-old because of what other people around him were saying. Because you didn't get it from Damien himself. So you kind of had to rely on these other witnesses. Whereas in this movie, you get to see Damien talking and interacting with other people. So I just never felt like he seemed that evil. He just seemed like just a normal kid. And so I had a lot more sympathy for him. And especially during that scene, because I felt like, unlike the Damien from the first movie, who was apparently had no emotion about killing his mom or whatever, this Damien, he genuinely cares for his cousin. I mean, like you said, he's like, oh yeah, they're like thick as thieves. So, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of an interesting, but that's exactly what I got out of it was, that's his best friend essentially. So
yeah, I mean, they grew up as brothers. They, so you just because you find out, like, I think there's still that. I mean, for lack of a better word, internal battle. Like, I think he knows he's going to become what he is, and that's that. But I guess maybe that's his last gasp to try and do it at least on his own terms. Like, if at least he has his quote unquote brother. I mean, it's really his cousin technically, but his brother with him. Maybe because I'm sure there's some level of he's afraid. He's like any typical kid that now. What you're gonna have to become. I mean, just even if you were a regular kid and you were becoming an adult, it's scary enough. But now knowing that you're supposedly the son of the Antichrist, you're coming in there. Well, wouldn't it be better with someone with you? I mean, it's.
I think that's why the age was chosen too of 13 is because they make a lot about that's when you become a man and that kind of thing. You're hitting puberty, so it's kind of an allegory for that transition from childhood to adulthood, and it is scary. And I can definitely see why he would want somebody to join him on that adventure because he doesn't know what to expect. So I don't know. It is kind of interesting to contrast like your sympathies towards, and it'll be interesting to see again in Omen 3 when he's an adult.
Right, and played by Sam Neill.
Yeah, so
I haven't seen that one in ages. Oh my god, I can't. That I'm really looking forward to because I haven't seen that one in forever. I think I've only seen that one like coupled. Well, actually, yeah, no, I did. I think I've seen that more than a couple times because they used to be that was one of the ones that used to be on cable a lot too. So I think it's the fourth one is the one I've only seen like once maybe.
Okay, so let's go through a couple of the trivia things here. I'll kick it off. I'm going to do the first one. But David Seltzer was approached to write the screenplay for the sequel, but refused as he had no interest in writing sequels. Years later, he commented that if he had written it, he would have said it the day after the first Omen film ended, with Damien living in the White House. Because if you remember at the end of the Omen,
right,
Damien was with the president attending the funeral of his dad. So
I get that, but like you said, I think it works.
Now, this one I found really interesting. Richard Donner was supposed to return as the director, but was busy with Superman. Wow, so he was going to do the sequel, which would have been really fascinating. But I'm glad he went on to do Superman.
Because Superman, those first two Supermans are still some of my, I think, the best superhero films ever made.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Let's see. We did that popularity Damon one, so we'll do. But here's that one. This is an interesting one. I thought it said the disappointing box office returns from this movie and the failure of Exorcist II, The Heretic, and The Chosen, 1977, signaled the end of Hollywood's 70s demon child fad. Though demon child movies still get made from time to time, the fad would never again be at its zenith as it was in the 70s. The dominant trend, starting with the release of Halloween 1978, was now slasher movies.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
So that's ushered in the slasher era. I did want to mention also, it was jumping back a little bit, but Jonathan Scott Taylor is now an attorney. He retired from acting altogether after appearing.
He's got that attorney name, with the three
Jonathan
names.
Scott Taylor, yeah, definitely, yeah. Although I keep wanting to call him Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
I know. So. Yeah. But it's like now I can see the commercial. Like, Jonathan Scott Taylor, attorney at law. Are you bedeviled with your case? Oh,
yeah. What was that, Al Pacino?
He went from Omen to Lawman.
Yeah. Sorry. What was that freaking Al Pacino movie?
Oh, Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate. I love it.
With Keanu Reeves.
With Keanu Reeves, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. The rest of that's pretty mundane trivia. So I'll have to say I thoroughly enjoyed these two movies. I've always loved The Omen. The Omen 2 was surprisingly good. It was actually much better than I expected. Again, plays it a little safe, but that's okay because I liked all the death scenes. I thought all that stuff was fantastic. Kind of had the it played it safe, but it felt good because I love The Omen so much. So it's just more of kind of the same kind of vibe. So
yes, it was good. So this series starts off with a bang, I have to say. It's really you got a really good movie to start off, the franchise, and then we may be in the minority, but I still think it's a good sequel to come.
I think it's a very solid sequel with some really great death scenes that I think horror fans will enjoy just on their own terms.
Yes, yeah. I mean, as a horror fan, you kind of it may be it may not be one of your favorite movies, and you may not even like it, but you have to respect this one for its good death scenes in it.
For a brief Superman 2 nod, it's 82nd birthday of Terrence Stamp.
Oh, I love Terrence Stamp.
Who played Zod and scared the living hell out of me when I watched Superman 2.
And Terrence Stamp in that movie utters one of my most quoted lines in history, and I love it. And I think it's one of the best lines, the way he says it when Lex Luthor's insulting him, and he goes, "Why do you say these things to me when you know I will kill you for it?" That to me is just the way Terrence Stamp utters it. But actually, pretty much every line he utters in that is pure gold.
Yeah, he was so good. And then the lady, oh my god.
Oh, Sarah Douglas. I got to meet her actually at a ChillerCon once. She was actually
really?
Oh yeah, I have an autographed picture of her. She was as sweet as can be. One of the nicest women I've ever met. She's
really?
so super friendly. We were talking. Mark and I were there. And we were saying how much we loved Ursa, and she was saying how much she loved playing it and everything. It's just one of those people that you go up to the cons and it's just like you hope they're nice and they quadruple your expectation of how nice they are.
To me, Superman 2 is a horror movie. That's how frightening that movie was.
Well, yeah, there's some kind of creepy sequences. Like I always think it's one of the one sequence when they're all three of them are flying towards Earth. It's kind of creepy when you think about the moment of it. I mean, at the time as I was a kid, I think I just loved it so much. But I think it was actually when I was an adult where I registered how creepy it could be.
Well, and to me, I had never seen a superhero weakened.
Oh,
where
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
they were gonna die, and you'd never see. I mean, that's a common trope now, but back then, like, oh my god, like they're gonna kill Superman. Like, they're literally gonna kill him. Like, they've taken his powers away. Like, it scared me to death. Like, I was a little younger than you, Brian.
Well, I think Jack O'Halloran was super scary because he didn't speak and he just went, you know, he moaned and he made those.
They were terrifying.
And he was so big already, and he's creepy alone. And then that he's that big. I remember that I love always the other line where like Sarah Douglas just goes, Superman, and she like throws, you know, just that whole sequence is there's a lot of creepiness to it. And it's funny for movies that are like those Superman movies that have so many like almost like so many cool comic book sequences, a lot of comedy, little silly things in there. Has some of the most frightening sequences. Like funny, I think I was talking to. We were talking to David Weiner about where in Superman 3 when Vera gets caught up in the computer, you know, and the wires pull her in, and it just like I'm like that's frightening. What the heck?
I mean,
why is this in a Superman movie?
Yeah, you know, they talk about like kinder trauma or whatever. These things that scared you as a kid. Superman 2 and Pete's Dragon would be right on up.
Pete's Dragon?
Pete's Dragon, man.
Helen Reddy scared you? What?
No, not Helen Reddy. I was scared to death of the whole family that Pete runs away
Oh, right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially, oh my gosh, I'm just a Shelley Winters character. I was
right.
horrified.
Yeah.
And I used to watch Pete's Dragon on HBO, and my mom would get so mad because I'd watch it, but I'd be like almost to the point of tears. I was so scared until after that part was over, you know. And
by the way,
like, why do you keep watching this?
there is a connection to one of our favorite movies from in there, and recently he just died 3 years ago. The actor that was in Pete's Dragon. You know what else he was in?
No.
Daryl Griffith, how the hell are you?
No way.
Yes, Charles Tyner.
Gosh, you're right.
He played Merle.
Right. Yes, I'd totally forgotten that.
So look at that.
Oh, that's great.
We brought planes, trains, and automobiles into a podcast featuring the Omen 1 and 2.
I dare you to find a horror podcast out there that connects the Omen to Pete's Dragon. I dare you.
No one. Yep.
Nobody. That's why you keep turning into Civil War. Because we will go
find ways.
Hilariously off topic.
We're like those puzzles that, like, on you see the ads for on Instagram for those apps where it's like 8 different color wires, and they're like, "Can you match this? Solve this problem?" And you mix the wires up till they're correct.
This is why you either love Civil War or you hate it.
Yeah, hoping for the first.
I'm hoping for the love. Okay, all right. So let's get to our beer pairing this week.
Yes, we're going a little long for an episode we thought was short. So I found out a beer. It's called Bad Omen. And it's by, get this, the Medusa Brewing Company in Hudson, Mass. Okay. And it's 7.5%, or as the rundown says for some reason, percent. Not sure what happened there, but anyway.
It's a little high for a pale ale.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's a Belgian pale ale. So, and it's got raspberries and cherries, fruity esters, notes of red berry, slightly tart, and features Trappist yeast, cherry, and raspberry.
Okay, so that's why.
Yeah, there really wasn't a great description. Yeah. But yeah, it is a dessert. Yeah, and I mean, Belgian IPAs can tend to go a little stronger. So,
all right. So let's get to our triple threat now. Just a word of warning: we're going to suspend the triple threat through our Slaycation, only because, as you've seen, this 2 movie Slaycation still took a full episode length, even without a real first chop. And,
right.
You know, without. So we're going to suspend the triple threats. This will be our last triple threat for a while until after Slaycation.
But we wanted to leave you with the answer, of course.
Got to give you the answer. Okay, so we were looking for an actor or actress. My first credited role was selling for fast food royalty. It was none other than Sarah Michelle Gellar. Her first role was a commercial for Burger King. Clue number 2, I had a small role in a Chevy Chase film that was deleted from the final version. We were talking about Sarah playing the role labeled Elizabeth Student in the 1988 Chevy Chase vehicle Funny Farm, which I thought was a great movie. Yes,
I love that line with the lady. Remember, she's like, that's a disconnect. Rude and vulgar language. It's an automatic disconnect.
Yes. I have been in projects with my now husband several times throughout my career, one of them even being a Star Wars one. So, of course, Sarah starred with husband Freddie Prinze Jr. in I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Scooby-Doo films, among others, and Star Wars Rebels, where Freddie played Kanan Jarrus and Sarah played the seventh sister. I did not know that piece of trivia. That they were in Star Wars Rebels. That was
yeah, and she was good at the seventh sister too. I mean, and Freddie, I thought Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't get enough credit for how good he was as Kanan Jarrus, because Kanan Jarrus was actually one of my favorite Star Wars characters in any kind of if you take all the books, the comics, the movies. Obviously, I thought he was one of my favorite characters. Actually, he was a really, really strong character, and actually, he you can hear his voice in Rise of Skywalker at the end. In that end, the rise sequence. If you listen, you can hear Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan Jarrus speaking to Rey. So I think he's the one. He's the one that says Jedi's lies in the Jedi's strength or something like that. That's him. You can listen for him. So
yeah, I've always liked Sarah Michelle Gellar because I was a huge Buffy fan. Olivia and I we binged. We bought the entire DVD set of Buffy, which I still have, by the way. But every season box set, we would buy it and just binge the whole thing, and then buy the next set and binge the whole thing, and we just went through that whole thing over a series of months, and it was just fantastic.
Nice.
Love that series. So yep, that's it for the triple threat. So we'll have more after the Summer Slaycation, but we want to kind of focus on these movies for the series. So that's now.
Yeah, especially because we don't know what could come up. We may have special features that we add in through the Summer Slaycations to go with the franchise at hand. So we want to leave that space.
All right. So Brian, did you want to announce the name for our listener question thing yet, or are we going to save it?
Let's save it until we have one. We haven't got another one yet, so we need another one. But yes, Cody came up with a great name for it, and that we both loved it, so we're gonna stick with it. We just need to get want to debut it properly. We just want to say it and not have something to go with it. So
so send us in either via Twitter message or Facebook message or civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. Send us in a question to discuss for our listener question section, and it could be either personal questions about me and Brian, or it could be about a movie, it could be about TV shows, it could be completely off topic, it could be completely on topic.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter. It'll just be something to kick off a discussion here at the end of the show.
I even say it could be a challenge and try and make us try and tie in two totally obscure movies together.
Yeah. Yes, we will. Yeah, we'll accept anything. So send those in, and we'll be back here next week with Omen 3, Omen 4, and the Omen remake from 2006, I believe, which I have seen, but I've only seen it once.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually looking to revisit that again because I do like Julie Stiles, and I remember also seeing the teaser trailer for that and really thinking it was a really well done teaser trailer. So so I'm looking forward to revisiting that one because, like I said, I think I've literally watched it once. So.
Yep. So, guys, check your hairline. Make sure you don't have a 666 hiding in there somewhere. I know with quarantine hair, you've probably covered up your 666. So
yeah, or instead of 666, ticks, because it is the summer and people are outdoors. You got to be careful.
All right, guys. We'll see you back here next week.
And beware of Helen Reddy.